The following outline is provided as an overview of anatomical guide to human anatomy. Human anatomy, scientific study of the morphology of the adult human. It is subdivided into gross anatomy and microscopic anatomy. Gross anatomy, also called topographical anatomy, regional anatomy, or anthropotomy, is the study of anatomical structures that can be seen by unaided vision. Microscopic anatomy is the study of minute anatomical structures assisted with microscopes and includes histology, the study of the organization of tissues, and cytology, the study of cells. Anatomy of the human body redirects here. For the textbook, see Gray's Anatomy. Female, left, and male, right, adult human bodies photographed in ventral, above, and dorsal, below, perspectives. Naturally occurring pubic, body, and facial hair has been deliberately removed to show anatomy. The human body is the structure of a human being. It is composed of many different types of cells that together create tissues and subsequently organ systems. They ensure homeostasis and the viability of the human body. It comprises a head, hair, neck, trunk, which includes the thorax and abdomen, arms and hands, legs and feet. The study of the human body involves anatomy, physiology, histology, and embryology. The body varies anatomically in known ways. Physiology focuses on the systems and organs of the human body and their functions. Many systems and mechanisms interact in order to maintain homeostasis, with safe levels of substances such as sugar and oxygen in the blood. The body is studied by health professionals, physiologists, anatomists, and by artists to assist them in their work. Composition. Main article, Composition of the human body. Elements of the human body by mass. Trace elements are less than 1% combined, and each less than 0.1%. 201 elements of the human body. 0.02. SVG element symbol %mass %atoms. Oxygen 065.024.0. Carbon C 18.512.0. Hydrogen H 9.562.0. Nitrogen N 3.21.1. Calcium Ca 1.50.22. Phosphorus P 1.00.22. Potassium K 0.40.03. Sulfur S 0.30.038. Sodium Na 0.20.037. Chlorine Cl 0.20.024. Magnesium Mg 0.10.015. Trace elements less than 0.1 less than 0.3. The human body is composed of elements including hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, calcium, and phosphorus. 1. These elements reside in trillions of cells and non-cellular components of the body. The adult male body is about 60% water for a total water content of some 42 liters, 9.2 imp gal, 11 US gal. This is made up of about 19 liters, 4.2 imp gal, 5.0 US gal, of extracellular fluid including about 3.2 liters, 0.70 imp gal, 0.85 US gal, of blood plasma and about 8.4 liters, 1.8 imp gal, 2.2 US gal, of interstitial fluid and about 23 liters, 5.1 imp gal, 6.1 US gal, of fluid inside cells. 2. The content, acidity and composition of the water inside and outside cells is carefully maintained. The main electrolytes in body water outside cells are sodium and chloride, whereas within cells it is potassium and other phosphates. 3. Cells. See also, list of distinct cell types in the adult human body. The body contains trillions of cells, the fundamental unit of life. 4. At maturity, there are roughly 35, 37, 6 trillion cells in the body, an estimate arrived at by totaling the cell numbers of all the organs of the body and cell types. The body is also host to about the same number of non-human cells, 5, as well as multicellular organisms which reside in the gastrointestinal tract and on the skin. 7. Not all parts of the body are made from cells. Cells sit in an extracellular matrix that consists of proteins such as collagen, surrounded by extracellular fluids. Of the 70 kilograms, 150 pounds weight of an average human body, nearly 25 kilograms, 55 pounds is non-human cells or non-cellular material such as bone and connective tissue. Genome. Main article, genome. See also, genetics. Cells in the body function because of DNA. DNA sits within the nucleus of a cell. Here, parts of DNA are copied and sent to the body of the cell via RNA. The RNA is then used to create proteins which form the basis for cells, their activity, and their products. Proteins dictate cell function and gene expression. A cell is able to self-regulate by the amount of proteins produced. 9. However, not all cells have DNA. Some cells such as mature red blood cells lose their nucleus as they mature. Tissues. External video. 2120 Major systemic artery. Video icon Human Body 101, National Geographic. The body consists of many different types of tissue, defined as cells that act with a specialized function. 10. The study of tissues is called histology and often occurs with a microscope. The body consists of 4 main types of tissues. These are lining cells, epithelia, connective tissue, nerve tissue, and muscle tissue. Cells that lie on surfaces exposed to the outside world or gastrointestinal tract, epithelia, or internal cavities. Endothelium, come in numerous shapes and forms, from single layers of flat cells, to cells with small beating hair-like cilia in the lungs, to column-like cells that line the stomach. Endothelial cells are cells that line internal cavities including blood vessels and glands. Lining cells regulate what can and can't pass through them, protect internal structures, and function as sensory surfaces. 11. Organs. See also, list of organs of the human body. Organs, structured collections of cells with a specific function. 12, mostly sit within the body, with the exception of skin. Examples include the heart, lungs, and liver. Many organs reside within cavities within the body. These cavities include the abdomen, which contains the stomach, for example, and pleura, which contains the lungs. Heart. Main article, heart. The heart is an organ located in the thoracic cavity between the lungs and slightly to the left. It is surrounded by the pericardium, which holds it in place in the mediastinum and serves to protect it from blunt trauma, infection, and help lubricate the movement of the heart via pericardial fluid. 13. The heart works by pumping blood around the body, allowing oxygen, nutrients, waste, hormones, and white blood cells to be transported. Diagram of the human heart. The heart is composed of 2 atrium and 2 ventricles. The primary purpose of the atrium is to allow uninterrupted venous blood flow to the heart during ventricular systole. This allows enough blood to get into the ventricles during atrial systole. A lack of the atrium would cause a decrease in cardiac output of 75%. 14. The purpose of the ventricles is to pump blood to the lungs through the right ventricle and to the rest of the body through the left ventricle. 15. The heart has an electrical conduction system to control the contractions and relaxation of the muscle. It starts in the sinoatrial node, traveling through the atria, causing them to pump blood into the ventricles. It then travels to the atrioventricular node, which makes the signal slow down slightly, allowing the ventricles to fill with blood, before pumping it out and starting the cycle over again. 16. Coronary artery disease is the leading cause of death worldwide, making up 16% of all deaths. 17. It is caused by the buildup of plaque in the coronary arteries supplying the heart. Eventually, the arteries may become so narrow that not enough blood is able to reach the myocardium. 18. A condition known as myocardial infarction or heart attack. This can cause heart failure or cardiac arrest and eventually death. 19. Risk factors for coronary artery disease include obesity, smoking, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, lack of exercise, and diabetes. 20. Cancer can affect the heart, though it is exceedingly rare and has usually metastasized from another part of the body, such as the lungs or breasts. This is because the heart cells quickly stop dividing and all growth occurs through size increase rather than cell division. 21. Gallbladder. Main article: Gallbladder. The gallbladder is a hollow pear-shaped organ located posterior to the inferior middle part of the right lobe of the liver. It is variable in shape and size. It stores bile before it is released into the small intestine via the common bile duct to help with digestion of fats. It receives bile from the liver via the cystic duct, which connects to the common hepatic duct to form the common bile duct. The gallbladder gets its blood supply from the cystic artery, which in most people emerges from the right hepatic artery. Gallstones is a common disease in which one or more stones form in the gallbladder or biliary tract. Most people are asymptomatic, but if a stone blocks the biliary tract, it causes a gallbladder attack. Symptoms may include sudden pain in the upper right abdomen and/or center of the abdomen. Nausea and vomiting may also occur. Typical treatment is removal of the gallbladder through a procedure called a cholecystectomy. Having gallstones is a risk factor for gallbladder cancer, which, although quite uncommon, is rapidly fatal if not diagnosed early. Systems. See also, List of systems of the human body. Circulatory system. Main article: Circulatory system. The circulatory system consists of the heart and blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries. The heart propels the circulation of the blood, which serves as a transportation system to transfer oxygen, fuel, nutrients, waste products, immune cells, and signaling molecules, i.e. hormones, from one part of the body to another. Paths of blood circulation within the human body can be divided into 2 circuits: the pulmonary circuit, which pumps blood to the lungs to receive oxygen and leave carbon dioxide, and the systemic circuit, which carries blood from the heart off to the rest of the body. The blood consists of fluid that carries cells in the circulation, including some that move from tissue to blood vessels and back, as well as the spleen and bone marrow. Digestive system. The digestive system consists of the mouth, including the tongue and teeth, esophagus, stomach, gastrointestinal tract, small and large intestines, and rectum, as well as the liver, pancreas, gallbladder, and salivary glands. It converts food into small, nutritional, non-toxic molecules for distribution and absorption into the body. These molecules take the form of proteins, which are broken down into amino acids, fats, vitamins, and minerals, the last of which are mainly ionic rather than molecular. After being swallowed, food moves through the gastrointestinal tract by means of peristalsis, the systematic expansion and contraction of muscles to push food from one area to the next. Digestion begins in the mouth, which chews food into smaller pieces for easier digestion. Then it is swallowed and moves through the esophagus to the stomach. In the stomach, food is mixed with gastric acids to allow the extraction of nutrients. What is left is called chyme. This then moves into the small intestine, which absorbs the nutrients and water from the chyme. What remains passes on to the large intestine, where it is dried to form feces. These are then stored in the rectum until they are expelled through the anus. Endocrine system. Main article: Endocrine system. The endocrine system consists of the principal endocrine glands, the pituitary, thyroid, adrenals, pancreas, parathyroids, and gonads, but nearly all organs and tissues produce specific endocrine hormones as well. The endocrine hormones serve as signals from one body system to another regarding an enormous array of conditions, and resulting in variety of changes of function. Immune system. Main article: Immune system. The immune system consists of the white blood cells, the thymus, lymph nodes, and lymph channels, which are also part of the lymphatic system. The immune system provides a mechanism for the body to distinguish its own cells and tissues from outside cells and substances, and to neutralize or destroy the latter by using specialized proteins such as antibodies, cytokines, and toll-like receptors, among many others. Skin. Integumentary system. Main article: Integumentary system. The integumentary system consists of the covering of the body, the skin, including hair and nails, as well as other functionally important structures such as the sweat glands and sebaceous glands. The skin provides containment, structure, and protection for other organs, and serves as a major sensory interface with the outside world. 34-35. Lymphatic system. Main article: Lymphatic system. The lymphatic system extracts, transports, and metabolizes lymph, the fluid found in between cells. The lymphatic system is similar to the circulatory system in terms of both its structure and its most basic function, to carry a body fluid. 36. Musculoskeletal system. Main article: Musculoskeletal system. The musculoskeletal system consists of the human skeleton, which includes bones, ligaments, tendons, joints and cartilage, and attached muscles. It gives the body basic structure and the ability for movement. In addition to their structural role, The larger bones in the body contain bone marrow, the site of production of blood cells. Also, all bones are major storage sites for calcium and phosphate. This system can be split up into the muscular system and the skeletal system. Nervous system. Main article, nervous system. Nervous system. The nervous system consists of the body's neurons and glial cells, which together form the nerves, ganglia and gray matter, which in turn form the brain and related structures. The brain is the organ of thought, emotion, memory, and sensory processing. It serves many aspects of communication and controls various systems and functions. The special senses consist of vision, hearing, taste, and smell. The eyes, ears, tongue, and nose gather information about the body's environment. From a structural perspective, the nervous system is typically subdivided into two component parts. The central nervous system, CNS, composed of the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS, composed of the nerves and ganglia outside the brain and spinal cord. The CNS is mostly responsible for organizing motion, processing sensory information, thought, memory, cognition, and other such functions. 39. It remains a matter of some debate whether the CNS directly gives rise to consciousness. 40. The peripheral nervous system, PNS, is mostly responsible for gathering information with sensory neurons and directing body movements with motor neurons. 39. From a functional perspective, the nervous system is again typically divided into two component parts: the somatic nervous system, SNS, and the autonomic nervous system, ANS. The SNS is involved in voluntary functions like speaking and sensory processes. The ANS is involved in involuntary processes such as digestion and regulating blood pressure. 41. The nervous system is subject to many different diseases. In epilepsy, abnormal electrical activity in the brain can cause seizures. In multiple sclerosis, the immune system attacks the nerve linings, damaging the nerve's ability to transmit signals. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a motor neuron disease which gradually reduces movement in patients. There are also many other diseases of the nervous system. Reproductive system. The primary purpose of the reproductive system is to produce new humans in the form of children and ensure their sexual development, so that they can produce new humans too. It is composed of the gonads, testes and ovaries, which produce eggs and sperm cells, gametes, and produce hormones necessary for proper sexual development. The rest of the glands and ducts of the reproductive system are responsible for the transportation and sustaining of the gametes, and to nurture the offspring. 42. The reproductive system is first stimulated by the hypothalamus during puberty, which causes the ovaries and testes to produce testosterone, male, and estrogen and progesterone, female. Male puberty generally occurs between the ages of 13 to 15 and is characterized by beginning of sperm production and the development of secondary sex characteristics such as increased height and weight, broadened shoulders, pubic and facial hair, voice deepening, and muscle development. Female puberty generally occurs between the ages of 9 to 13 and is characterized by ovulation and menstruation. The growth of secondary sex characteristics such as growth of pubic and underarm hair, breast, uterine and vaginal growth, widening hips and increased height and weight also occur during the female puberty process. 43. Internal gross anatomy of the male reproductive system. The external male reproductive system is made up of the penis and the scrotum, which is a bag that protects the testis. The penis consists of the glans, which is the head of the penis and contains the urethra and urinary meatus, the point where urine exits the penis. The rest of the penis is called the shaft or corpus cavernosum and contains most of the urethra. The glans is covered by a fold of skin called the foreskin, though this can be removed through circumcision. 43. External female reproductive system with mons pubis highlighted. Internally, the male reproductive system starts in the testes, where hundreds of seminiferous tubules produce sperm, which is then stored and matured into spermatozoon in the epididymis. They are then brought through the vas deferens, which leads away from the testes to the seminal vesicles, where the sperm cells are mixed with a fructose-rich fluid from the seminal vesicles, allowing the sperm to stay alive and remain healthy. It is then brought by the ejaculatory duct through the prostate and bulbourethral gland and mixed with fluids from said glands. The fluid from the prostate helps to neutralize the acidity of the vagina and keep the sperm alive. This mixture of sperm and accessory gland fluids is called semen and is released through the urethra during ejaculation. Almost the entire internal male reproductive system works in pairs, with 2 testes, 2 epididymis, 2 vas deferens, 2 seminal vesicles, 2 ejaculatory ducts, 2 bulbourethral glands, but only 1 prostate and urethra. 43, 44. The external female reproductive system, also called the vulva, consists of the mons pubis, a fatty mass that covers the pubis, the labia majora, outer lips of the vagina, the labia minora, inner lips of the vagina, the vaginal opening, which opens into vagina and is where the penis is inserted during sexual intercourse and children are born. The urethral opening, which is the opening for the urethra that carries urine from the bladder, and the clitoris, which contains the most sensitive nerve endings and in humans has no use other than sexual pleasure. Located between the anus and vagina is the perineum. 45, 43. Internal gross anatomy of the female reproductive system. Internally, the female reproductive system contains 2 ovaries, the uterus, 2 fallopian tubes, and the cervix. At birth, a female has about 700,000 oocytes, the immature version of the egg cell, in both ovaries combined, though this degenerates to about 400,000 by the time puberty is reached. This is a lifetime supply, as after birth no more oocytes are produced, compared to males where sperm cells are produced during their entire lifetime. During puberty, the menstrual cycle begins for the first time. In response to low estrogen and progesterone levels, the hypothalamus releases gonadotropin-releasing hormone, GnRH. This causes the anterior pituitary gland to release follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH, and luteinizing hormone, LH. FSH stimulates ovarian follicles to grow, and one dominant follicle will eventually take over. As it continues to grow, it releases more and more estradiol, which stimulates LH secretion and suppresses FSH secretion, preventing further follicular growth. When LH levels are highest, the follicle ruptures, releasing the ovum in a process called ovulation, where it is then moved to one of the fallopian tubes. After ovulation, the portion of the follicle that remains in the ovary is transformed into corpus luteum, which continues to produce estrogen and high levels of progesterone. The progesterone causes the endometrium to grow thick, preparing it for implantation of a fertilized egg. If fertilization occurs, the corpus luteum continues to secrete hormones until the placenta develops enough to secrete the necessary hormones for maintaining pregnancy. Eventually, the corpus luteum will turn into corpus albicans, which is essentially scar tissue. If fertilization fails, the corpus luteum will degrade into corpus albicans and stop secreting enough progesterone and estrogen, causing the endometrial lining to break, resulting in menstruation. 43-46. Many diseases affect the reproductive system, such as polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, which is characterized by elevated androgen levels, menstrual irregularities, and/or small cysts on one or both of the ovaries. It is a common disease affecting at least 7% of adult women. Symptoms include excess body hair, infertility, weight gain, male pattern baldness, and irregular menstruation. 47-48. Another reproductive disease is testicular torsion. It occurs when the spermatic cord which holds up the testicle wraps around itself, cutting off blood flow to the testicle. Testicular torsion is a medical emergency and can result in testicular death or infertility if not treated immediately by physically unwrapping the spermatic cord. If the testicle has suffered severe damage, it may need to be surgically in a lateral orchiectomy. The primary symptom of testicular torsion is severe testicular pain at rest. Nausea and vomiting may also occur. Testicular torsion can occur at any age, though it is most common in 12 to 18-year-olds. 49-50. Sexually transmitted infections such as syphilis, HIV, chlamydia, HPV, and genital warts are spread through sexual intercourse, including oral, vaginal, and anal sex. Many of these infections can be lethal if left untreated, though others are mostly harmless. 51-52. Cancer can affect many parts of the reproductive system, including the penis, testicles, prostate, ovaries, cervix, vagina, fallopian, uterus, and vulva. Respiratory system. Main article: Respiratory system. The respiratory system consists of the nose, nasopharynx, trachea, and lungs. It brings oxygen from the air and excretes carbon dioxide and water back into the air. First, air is pulled through the trachea into the lungs by the diaphragm pushing down, which creates a vacuum. Air is briefly stored inside small sacs known as alveoli, alveolus, before being expelled from the lungs when the diaphragm contracts again. Each alveolus is surrounded by capillaries carrying deoxygenated blood, which absorbs oxygen out of the air and into the bloodstream. 54-55. For the respiratory system to function properly, there need to be as few impediments as possible to the movement of air within the lungs. Inflammation of the lungs and excess mucus are common sources of breathing difficulties. 55. In asthma, the respiratory system is persistently inflamed, causing wheezing and/or shortness of breath. Pneumonia occurs through infection of the alveoli and may be caused by tuberculosis. Emphysema, commonly a result of smoking, is caused by damage to connections between the alveoli. 56. Urinary system. Main article: Urinary system. Female urinary system. The urinary system consists of the 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, bladder, and urethra. It removes waste materials from the blood through urine, which carries a variety of waste molecules and excess ions and water out of the body. First, the kidneys filter the blood through their respective nephrons, removing waste products like urea, creatinine, and maintaining the proper balance of electrolytes and turning the waste products into urine by combining them with water. From the blood, 57, the kidneys filter about 150 quarts, 170 liters, of blood daily, but most of it is returned to the bloodstream with only 1 to 2 quarts, 1 to 2 liters, ending up as urine. 58. The urine is brought by the ureters from the kidneys down to the bladder. The smooth muscle lining the ureter walls continuously tighten and relax through a process called peristalsis, to force urine away from the kidneys and down into the bladder. Small amounts of urine are released into the bladder every 10 to 15 seconds. The bladder is a hollow balloon-shaped organ located in the pelvis. It stores urine until the brain signals it to relax the urinary sphincter and release the urine into the urethra, starting urination. 59. A normal bladder can hold up to 16 ounces, half a liter, for 3 to 5 hours comfortably. Numerous diseases affect the urinary system, including kidney stones, which are formed when materials in the urine concentrate enough to form a solid mass. Urinary tract infections, which are infections of the urinary tract and can cause pain when urinating, frequent urination, and even death if left untreated. Renal failure occurs when the kidneys fail to adequately filter waste from the blood and can lead to death if not treated with dialysis or kidney transplantation. 60. Cancer can affect the bladder, kidneys, urethra, and ureters, with the latter two being far more rare. 61. Anatomy. Main articles: Outline of human anatomy and anatomy. Cavities of human body. Human anatomy is the study of the shape and form of the human body. The human body has 4 limbs, 2 arms and 2 legs, a head and a neck which connect to the torso. The body's shape is determined by a strong skeleton made of bone and cartilage, surrounded by fat, adipose tissue, muscle, connective tissue, organs, and other structures. The spine at the back of the skeleton contains the flexible vertebral column which surrounds the spinal cord, which is a collection of nerve fibers connecting the brain to the rest of the body. Nerves connect the spinal cord and brain to the rest of the body. All major bones, muscles, and nerves in the body are named, with the exception of anatomical variations such as sesamoid bones and accessory muscles. Blood vessels carry blood throughout the body, which moves because of the beating of the heart. Venules and veins collect blood low in oxygen from tissues throughout the body. These collect in progressively larger veins until they reach the body's 2 largest veins, the superior and inferior vena cava, which drain blood into the right side of the heart. From here, the blood is pumped into the lungs where it receives oxygen and drains back into the left side of the heart. From here, it is pumped into the body's largest artery, the aorta, and then progressively smaller arteries and arterioles until it reaches tissue. Here blood passes from small arteries into capillaries, then small veins, and the process begins again. Blood carries oxygen, waste products, and hormones from one place in the body to another. Blood is filtered at the kidneys and liver. The body consists of a number of body cavities, separated areas which house different organ systems. The brain and central nervous system reside in an area protected from the rest of the body by the blood-brain barrier. The lungs sit in the pleural cavity. The intestines, liver, and spleen sit in the abdominal cavity. Height, weight, shape, and other body proportions vary individually and with age and sex. Body shape is influenced by the distribution of bones, muscle, and fat tissue. Physiology. Main articles: Outline of Physiology and Physiology. Human physiology is the study of how the human body functions. This includes the mechanical, physical, bioelectrical, and biochemical functions of humans in good health, from organs to the cells of which they are composed. The human body consists of many interacting systems of organs. These interact to maintain homeostasis, keeping the body in a stable state with safe levels of substances such as sugar and oxygen in the blood. 63. Each system contributes to homeostasis of itself, other systems, and the entire body. Some combined systems are referred to by joint names. For example, the nervous system and the endocrine system operate together as the neuroendocrine system. The nervous system receives information from the body and transmits this to the brain via nerve impulses and neurotransmitters. At the same time, the endocrine system releases hormones, such as to help regulate blood pressure and volume. Together, these systems regulate the internal environment of the body, maintaining blood flow, posture, energy supply, temperature, and acid balance, pH. 63. Development. Main article: Development of the human body. Baby being carried. Development of the human body is the process of growth to maturity. The process begins with fertilization, where an egg released from the ovary of a female is penetrated by sperm. The egg then lodges in the uterus, where an embryo and later fetus develop until birth. Growth and development occur after birth, and include both physical and psychological development influenced by genetic, hormonal, environmental, and other factors. Development and growth continue throughout life, through childhood, adolescence, and through adulthood to old age, and are referred to as the process of aging. Society and culture. Professional study. Further information: History of anatomy, History of medicine, and History of physiology. Anatomical study by Leonardo da Vinci. Health professionals learn about the human body from illustrations, models, and demonstrations. Medical and dental students in addition gain practical experience, for example by dissection of cadavers. Human anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry are basic medical sciences, generally taught to medical students in their first year at medical school. 64, 65, 66. Depiction. Main articles: Human figure, aesthetics, and figure drawing. Figure drawing by Lovis Corinth, before 1925. Anatomy has served the visual arts since ancient Greek times, when the 5th century BC sculptor Polykleitos wrote his canon on the ideal proportions of the male nude. 67. In the Italian Renaissance, artists from Piero della Francesca, circa 1415 to 1492, onwards, including Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519, and his collaborator Luca Pacioli, circa 1447 to 1517, learnt and wrote about the rules of art, including visual perspective and the proportions of the human body. 68. History of anatomy. Main article, History of anatomy. 2 facing pages of text with woodcuts of naked male and female figures, in the Epitome by Andreas Vesalius, 1543. In ancient Greece, the Hippocratic corpus described the anatomy of the skeleton and muscles. 69. The 2nd century physician Galen of Pergamum compiled classical knowledge of anatomy into a text that was used throughout the Middle Ages. 70. In the Renaissance, Andreas Vesalius, 1514 to 1564. Pioneered the modern study of human anatomy by dissection, writing the influential book De Humani Corporis Fabrica. 71. 72. Anatomy advanced further with the invention of the microscope and the study of the cellular structure of tissues and organs. 73. Modern anatomy uses techniques such as magnetic resonance imaging, computed tomography, fluoroscopy and ultrasound imaging to study the body in unprecedented detail. 74. History of physiology. Main article, History of physiology. The study of human physiology began with Hippocrates in ancient Greece, around 420 BCE, and with Aristotle, 384 to 322 BCE, who applied critical thinking and emphasis on the relationship between structure and function. Galen, ca. 126 to 199, was the first to use experiments to probe the body's functions. 75. The term physiology was introduced by the French physician Jean Fernel, 1497 to 1558. 76. In the 17th century, William Harvey, 1578 to 1657, described the circulatory system, pioneering the combination of close observation with careful experiment. 77. In the 19th century, physiological knowledge began to accumulate at a rapid rate with the cell theory of Matthias Schleiden and Theodor Schwann, in 1838, that organisms are made up of cells. 76. Claude Bernard, 1813 to 1878, created the concept of the milieu intérieur, internal environment, which Walter Cannon, 1871 to 1945, later said was regulated to a steady state in homeostasis. In the 20th century, the physiologists Knut Schmidt-Nielsen and George Bartholomew extended their studies to comparative physiology and ecophysiology. 78. Most recently, evolutionary physiology has become a distinct subdiscipline.
Human reproductive system. The human reproductive system includes the male reproductive system, which functions to produce and deposit sperm, and the female reproductive system, which functions to produce egg cells, and to protect and nourish the fetus until birth. Humans have a high level of sexual differentiation. In addition to differences in nearly every reproductive organ, there are numerous differences in typical secondary sex characteristics. Human reproduction usually involves internal fertilization by sexual intercourse. In this process, the male inserts his penis into the female's vagina and ejaculates semen, which contains sperm. A small proportion of the sperm pass through the cervix into the uterus, and then into the fallopian tubes for fertilization of the ovum. Only one sperm is required to fertilize the ovum. Upon successful fertilization, the fertilized ovum, or zygote, travels out of the fallopian tube and into the uterus, where it implants in the uterine wall. This marks the beginning of gestation, better known as pregnancy, which continues for around 9 months as the fetus develops. When the fetus has developed to a certain point, pregnancy is concluded with childbirth, involving labor. During labor, the muscles of the uterus contract and the cervix dilates over the course of hours, and the baby passes out of the vagina. Human infants are completely dependent on their caregivers and require high levels of parental care. Infants rely on their caregivers for comfort, cleanliness, and food. Food may be provided by breastfeeding or formula feeding.
Structure. Female. Main article, Human Female Reproductive System. Female Reproductive System. The human female reproductive system is a series of organs primarily located inside the body and around the pelvic region of a female that contribute towards the reproductive process. The human female reproductive system contains three main parts: the vulva, which leads to the vagina, the vaginal opening, to the uterus, which holds the developing fetus, and the ovaries, which produce the female's ova. The breasts are involved during the parenting stage of reproduction, but in most classifications they are not considered to be part of the female reproductive system. Female genitalia. The vagina meets the outside at the vulva, which also includes the labia, clitoris, and urethra. During intercourse, this area is lubricated by mucus secreted by the Bartholin's glands. The vagina is attached to the uterus through the cervix, while the uterus is attached to the ovaries via the fallopian tubes. Each ovary contains hundreds of egg cells or ova, singular ovum. Approximately every 28 days, the pituitary gland releases a hormone that stimulates some of the ova to develop and grow. One ovum is released and it passes through the fallopian tube into the uterus. Hormones produced by the ovaries prepare the uterus to receive the ovum. The lining of the uterus, called the endometrium, and unfertilized ova are shed each cycle through the process of menstruation. If the ovum is fertilized by sperm, it attaches to the endometrium and the fetus develops. Male. Main article, Human Male Reproductive System. Male reproductive system. The male reproductive system is a series of organs located outside the body and around the pelvis region of a male that contribute towards the reproduction process. The primary direct function of the male reproductive system is to provide the male sperm for fertilization of the ovum. Penile shrinkage due to low temperatures. The scrotum is in a tense state to regulate testicular temperatures. The major reproductive organs of the male can be grouped into three categories. The first category produces and stores sperm, spermatozoa. These are produced in the testes, which are housed in the temperature-regulating scrotum. Immature sperm then travel to the epididymis for development and storage. The second category are the ejaculatory fluid-producing glands, which include the Cooper's gland, also called bulbourethral gland, seminal vesicles, prostate, and vas deferens. The final category are those used for copulation and deposition of the sperm within the female. These include the penis, urethra, and vas deferens. Major secondary sexual characteristics include larger, more muscular stature, deepened voice, facial and body hair, broad shoulders, and development of an Adam's apple. An important sexual hormone of males is androgen, and particularly testosterone. The testes release a hormone that controls the development of sperm. This hormone is also responsible for the development of physical characteristics in men such as facial hair and a deep voice. Development. The development of the reproductive system and the development of the urinary system are closely tied with the development of the human fetus. Despite the differences between the adult female and male are derived from the intermediate mesoderm, clarification needed. No main verb. The three main fetal precursors of the reproductive organs are the Wolffian duct, the Müllerian ducts, and the gonads. Endocrine hormones are a well-known and critical controlling factor in the normal differentiation of the reproductive system. 2. The Wolffian duct forms the epididymis, vas deferens, ductus deferens, ejaculatory duct, and seminal vesicle in the male reproductive system, but essentially disappears in the female reproductive system. The reverse is true for the Müllerian duct, as it essentially disappears in the male reproductive system and forms the fallopian tubes, uterus, and vagina in the female system. In both sexes, the gonads go on to form the testes and ovaries because they are derived from the same undeveloped structure. They are considered homologous organs. There are a number of other homologous structures shared between male and female reproductive systems. However, despite the similarity in function of the female fallopian tubes and the male epididymis and vas deferens, they are not homologous but rather analogous structures as they arise from different fetal structures. Reproduction. Further information: human reproduction. Production of gametes. Main articles: spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Gametes are produced within the gonads through a process known as gametogenesis. This occurs when certain types of germ cells undergo meiosis to split the normal diploid number of chromosomes, n equals 46, into haploid cells containing only 23 chromosomes, 3. Anatomy of the testis. In males, this process is known as spermatogenesis, and takes place only after puberty in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. The immature spermatozoa or sperm are then sent to the epididymis, where they gain a tail, enabling motility. Each of the original diploid germ cells or primary spermatocytes forms 4 functional gametes, which is each forever young. Clarification needed. The production and survival of sperms require a temperature below the normal core body temperature. Since the scrotum, where the testes is present, is situated outside the body cavity, it provides a temperature about 3 degrees Celsius below normal body temperature. Anatomy of the ovary. In females, gametogenesis is known as oogenesis. This occurs in the ovarian follicles of the ovaries. This process does not produce mature ovum until puberty. In contrast with males, each of the original diploid germ cells or primary oocytes will form only 1 mature ovum, and 3 polar bodies which are not capable of fertilization. It has long been understood that in females, unlike males, all of the primary oocytes ever found in a female will be created prior to birth, and that the final stages of oviproduction will then not resume until puberty. 3. However, recent scientific research has challenged that hypothesis. 4. This new research indicates that in at least some species of mammal, oocytes continue to be replenished in females well after birth. 5. Disease. Main article: reproductive system disease. Like all complex organ systems, the human reproductive system is affected by many diseases. There are 4 main categories of reproductive diseases in humans. They are genetic or congenital abnormalities, cancers, infections, which are often sexually transmitted diseases, varicocele, 6. Rate of sexually transmitted diseases in the U.S. Functional problems caused by environmental factors, physical damage, psychological issues, autoimmune disorders, or other causes. The best-known functional problems include sexual dysfunction and infertility, which are both broad terms relating to many disorders with many causes. Specific reproductive diseases are often symptoms of other diseases and disorders, or have multiple, or unknown causes making them difficult to classify. Examples of unclassifiable disorders are Peyronie's disease in males and endometriosis in females. Many congenital conditions cause reproductive abnormalities, but are better known for their other symptoms. These include Turner syndrome, Klinefelter's syndrome, cystic fibrosis, and Bloom syndrome. Immune system. The immune system is a network of biological processes that protects an organism from diseases. It detects and responds to a wide variety of pathogens, from viruses to parasitic worms, as well as cancer cells and objects such as wood splinters, distinguishing them from the organism's own healthy tissue. Many species have two major subsystems of the immune system. The innate immune system provides a preconfigured response to broad groups of situations and stimuli. The adaptive immune system provides a tailored response to each stimulus by learning to recognize molecules it has previously encountered. Both use molecules and cells to perform their functions. Nearly all organisms have some kind of immune system. Bacteria have a rudimentary immune system in the form of enzymes that protect against virus infections. Other basic immune mechanisms evolved in ancient plants and animals and remain in their modern descendants. These mechanisms include phagocytosis, antimicrobial peptides called defensins, and the complement system. Jawed vertebrates, including humans, have even more sophisticated defense mechanisms, including the ability to adapt to recognize pathogens more efficiently. Adaptive or acquired immunity creates an immunological memory leading to an enhanced response to subsequent encounters with that same pathogen. This process of acquired immunity is the basis of vaccination. Dysfunction of the immune system can cause autoimmune diseases, inflammatory diseases, and cancer. Immunodeficiency occurs when the immune system is less active than normal, resulting in recurring and life-threatening infections. In humans, immunodeficiency can be the result of a genetic disease such as severe combined immunodeficiency, acquired conditions such as HIV, AIDS, or the use of immunosuppressive medication. Autoimmunity results from a hyperactive immune system attacking normal tissues as if they were foreign organisms. Common autoimmune diseases include Hashimoto's thyroiditis, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes mellitus type 1, and systemic lupus erythematosus. Immunology covers the study of all aspects of the immune system. Surface barriers. Several barriers protect organisms from infection, including mechanical, chemical, and biological barriers. The waxy cuticle of most leaves, the exoskeleton of insects, the shells and membranes of externally deposited eggs, and skin are examples of mechanical barriers that are the first line of defense against infection. 8. Organisms cannot be completely sealed from their environments, so systems act to protect body openings such as the lungs, intestines, and the genitourinary tract. In the lungs, coughing and sneezing mechanically eject pathogens and other irritants from the respiratory tract. The flushing action of tears and urine also mechanically expels pathogens, while mucus secreted by the respiratory and gastrointestinal tract serves to trap and entangle microorganisms. 9. Chemical barriers also protect against infection. The skin and respiratory tract secrete antimicrobial peptides such as the beta-defensins. 10. Enzymes such as lysozyme and phospholipase A2 in saliva, tears, and breast milk are also antibacterials. 11. 12. Vaginal secretions serve as a chemical barrier following menarche when they become slightly acidic, while semen contains defensins and zinc to kill pathogens. 13. 14. In the stomach, gastric acid serves as a chemical defense against ingested pathogens. 15. Within the genitourinary and gastrointestinal tracts, commensal flora serve as biological barriers by competing with pathogenic bacteria for food and space and, in some cases, changing the conditions in their environment, such as pH or available iron. As a result, the probability that pathogens will reach sufficient numbers to cause illness is reduced. 16. Innate immune system. Further information: innate immune system. Microorganisms or toxins that successfully enter an organism encounter the cells and mechanisms of the innate immune system. The innate response is usually triggered when microbes are identified by pattern recognition receptors, which recognize components that are conserved among broad groups of microorganisms. 17. Or when damaged, injured or stressed cells send out alarm signals, many of which are recognized by the same receptors as those that recognize pathogens. 18. Innate immune defenses are nonspecific, meaning these systems respond to pathogens in a generic way. 19. This system does not confer long-lasting immunity against a pathogen. The innate immune system is the dominant system of host defense in most organisms, too, and the only one in plants. 20. Immune sensing. Cells in the innate immune system use pattern recognition receptors to recognize molecular structures that are produced by pathogens. 21. They are proteins expressed, mainly, by cells of the innate immune system, such as dendritic cells, macrophages, monocytes, neutrophils, and epithelial cells. 19. 22. To identify two classes of molecules: pathogen-associated molecular patterns, PAMPs, which are associated with microbial pathogens, and damage-associated molecular patterns, DAMPs, which are associated with components of host cells that are released during cell damage or cell death. 23. Recognition of extracellular or endosomal PAMPs is mediated by transmembrane proteins known as toll-like receptors, TLRs. 24. TLRs share a typical structural motif, the leucine-rich repeats, LRRs, which give them a curved shape. 25. Toll-like receptors were first discovered in Drosophila and trigger the synthesis and secretion of cytokines, and activation of other host defense programs that are necessary for both innate or adaptive immune responses. 10 toll-like receptors have been described in humans. 26. Cells in the innate immune system have pattern recognition receptors, which detect infection or cell damage inside. 3 major classes of these cytosolic receptors are NOD-like receptors, RIG, retinoic acid-inducible gene like receptors and cytosolic DNA sensors. Please subscribe to get notification when we post the remaining video. Thank you.